Yes. Yeah, teachers, right? I also prepared some kind of an activity. So to show you how it can be done in a classroom environment. Usually, I'd recommend that one as a follow-up after a visit to Auschwitz, just to teach some more. And I'll show you how it works with some extra materials, because you can use anything with it. You can use photographs, you can use memoirs of survivors, and that's what is done in this particular activity. So the idea is, well, that's for the first episode, so Mala and Edek, so the story you're familiar with. Basically, you ask the class, the group, to count to 5. So may I ask of you to do that now? So let's start with you, number 1. Okay, 1, 2,
3,
4, 5. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Remember your number. Remember your number. Because numbers 1 would get the yellow. Number 1. Who's number 1? 1. 1. Number 2 gets the blue. Two. Where's number 2? One more, number 2? 2, 1 or 2? 1. So we have 3 groups. Okay. That's for number 3. Red one is number 3. Number 3. You're number 1, you didn't get. Number 1, so for you, the yellow one. So number 4. 4 gets the purple. There you go. 4. There's 4. One more 4? No? No 4s. And 5. 5. Here 5. Where's number 5? You're number 5? You're number 5. One more number 5.
Here at the end, I was 1.
Okay.
No?
So number 4 gets number 5 as well. Okay. So group the last group will be a little small. So now let's just suppose that's a group of students. You're acting as students right now. Now you need to, of course, before you begin the activity, you begin with an introduction about the history of Auschwitz, about escapes, and whatever you want to tell them. Then, of course, to do this activity, you need to read the comic. Of course, we are not going to do that because it takes at least half an hour. That's from my experience. So it's like for 2 lesson units, 45 minutes twice. So you do the introduction, you give them time to read, and then you've got the activities. And once you divide the class into those 5 groups with different colors of slips, Now we need a seating rearrangement. So ones joining together, twos, threes, fours, and fives, and they discuss what they've got on the slips of paper together.
But we need the book.
You need the book.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
it's just an example. It's just an example. Because now of those limits on flights, I couldn't bring enough comic books to make it, a real life experience. It's just an example. Yeah, all teachers, you know what I'm talking about. So I just wanted to show you how it's done, how it can work. So you just discuss this on the basis of the comic book, but not only. You get additional texts. So group group number 1 gets text by Primo Levi. That's this one, okay. I only have two copies, so more or less. If you just join together, it would be easier. Where is another number 1? Okay. 1. Number 2 gets another text by Primo Levi. 2.
You can give them.
2. Number 2. Group number 3 gets Wiesław Kielar. 5 years in Auschwitz. Who's number 3? And 4, Halina Birnbaum. Hope is the last to die. It's about number 4. Who's one more number 4? You number 4 too. And he took yours. And another. Well, that's just the number of texts, but it's not the number of groups. You've got the right one. You've got the right one. And one more Wiesław Kielar, that's for 5. You're 5. Okay, so you've got like these pieces of writing which relate to a particular aspect, also shown in the comic book. You can combine both sources. You can make use of them. You can also use photographs. In the lesson plans for Sonderkommando, there are a lot of photographs of crematoria, the interior of the crematoria, and so on. So once it's all discussed in a group, so ones sit together, twos together, and so on, you give them some time to discuss everything. And then you relocate them back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in those groups of 5, each one of those students is an expert in one particular topic, in the one presented in the slip, and they share. And then there's a sum up of everything, the old teachers, so you know how it's done. So that's just a practical example. That would be all. I'm really glad I could come to Israel. That's my first time here. I had a few opportunities to visit with the group of seminars, for the seminar with the teachers and the guides, but life is life. The first time was soon after September the 11th, when my children were little, and I was actually to go as a translator. And the older one just asked, "Mommy, are you going to drive there, or are you going to fly?" "Honey, I'm going to fly." "Don't do that. You'll die and you leave us alone." So that was an argument. I couldn't go. But now they are old and they have nothing to say, and they are happy to send mommy away. So they have, all their time to play the computer games. So well. It was a great opportunity. Thank you very much for inviting.
Well, any questions?
And, well, now it's time for questions. I'm here to answer questions as well.
What is planned in the future? What subjects?
You know that it's just an endless list we have to choose. Of course, we would like to. We also think about sort of a sub-series, like involving the perpetrators. So Mengele to show the experiments at Auschwitz. They were not shown so far, and it's also very important. We would like to, in this sub-series, we would also like to present Eichmann to show the bureaucracy and the role of bureaucracy in the right function of the whole operation. Well, Halina Birnbaum was also really happy about the idea of becoming a character in a comic book. Well, the opportunities are endless, but as I've said, it's just the two of us. Jacek and I, we have other jobs because it's more of a hobby. We have to work to support the families and so on. So it's our passion, it's our hobby. That's what we decided to do, and there are no regrets so far.
I assume there were artists in the camps in comics, and they made some works. Did you find works of artists?
We didn't
Between the
find.
prisoners.
Well, we know that there are a lot of artists among the prisoners, and I'm sure you're all aware that the museum is in possession of a huge art collection. Those created in the camp and then also after the war. Sometimes one picture tells more than 1,000 words, so we know that it's a powerful tool. So that was also one of the reasons why we decided to do it. We were also inspired by the works of the prisoners.
And you included these works?
Not really, because of the copyright and because of we wouldn't be that good. They are exceptional. They are exceptional, and they are their own. So, yes, please.
I was wondering, thinking about the nature of the format and thinking about the nature of the people you intend the format to, what sort of things would you not show in this format? What subject would you not touch here? Because it's comics. It's not we have mouse, we have everything, but it's still comics and still for children. And I see there's no
It's as you can see, it's plus 14.
Yeah,
it's
so
plus
still
14.
14 kids.
The first one, the first edition is even plus 16. But then we reconsidered because we had voices from many different people, like from the Norwegians who bring the Norwegian students. They bring them at the age of 15 or so. So they wanted to use it in their program as well, and they started asking questions: why 16 and not 14? So we just lowered this age to 14. Because that's, many Polish students or Czech students also come to visit Auschwitz at that age.
Is there any subject that you won't show in comics or any
We
scene
don't
you
want
won't show?
to shock. Auschwitz itself is shocking enough. So we don't want to, expose too much. You've got corpses. It's probably right now in modern times. The children are more familiar with violence. You've got a lot of violence on TV, on computer games. They are not that sensitive to cruelty, but we still don't want to make it a sensation. We want to show the story as it was, and sometimes it's necessary to show cruelty, to show really horrible things, but we don't want to just focus on that alone. So during one of the meetings, actually it might have this one with the authors. A person from the audience noticed one particular thing. I need to find this picture. It will take time. Yeah, that's it. Here we've got a whole page when they are discussing something in latrines. Okay, as you know, that was a place where the prisoners had the relative freedom of discussion, because the assessment were not around. It was too disgusting to be around. The smell was not right, so they could just trade things and discuss things quite safely. So there is a scene in latrines. Latrines, right? But there's no anatomy here. So and that's what one of we could show some parts of human body, but what for? What for? That's not the purpose of this picture. It's about something else. It's about the latrines. What could be done in latrines apart from, relieving yourself? So, okay.
I think it's the right idea. I think that
Thank you.
You're right that kids don't want to read, and that's why I was astounded to find so much text in Withold's report, for instance.
Some people, yeah.
Not only this, and the next page also text, and
Yeah.
I find the font very difficult to read. And I don't understand why it was done this way. I think it's too much text.
Some people say it's not enough.
You're right. I mean, you can
It's
write a
not enough.
doctorate about it, and you start
Yes, what was
70 years of history, I think, in 2 pages, which I find
yes, but
very difficult to
assuming
understand.
that this is just something which encourages a child to do some more reading, we can skip the texts because they're going to learn about it from somewhere else. But assuming that the comic book will be the only, because we are not talking about the Israeli students right now, okay, who are taught about the Holocaust from very early stages, and they get really detailed knowledge. But it's about, for example, Czech students or Polish students. If this is the only thing, apart from the lesson at school, the history lesson, they will read, it will probably, the text will give them just, the basic idea of what it was. We thought it was necessary. It can also be used in lessons. You can also use glossary. As I told you, creativity is, it gives endless opportunities. So you may like it, you may not. I don't expect everybody to be, wow, because there are all kinds. It's nothing is perfect. So it's a question of opinion.
I just think it's just too much and also difficult to read because of the font. It's very difficult to read. It's very. This is a clear font. This is clear.
This is clear because it's a little.
This one, I think, is a very difficult font. It's blurry. I think graphically you need to improve the font.
The font. But that's the problem if you have to tell too much in pages plus pictures. So there's a problem. Which parts to cut off? Because everything is important.
No, I want to say first let's be clear.
Maybe just change the code. That's something to consider in the future. Thank you very much for your remarks. Any other questions you'd like to ask?
What are we going to say?
I have a question.
Yes.
Are you open for suggestions for the
Yes,
next
of course, we
chapter?
are open for any suggestions.
Okay.
You've got some.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
later on, not now.
Not now. Okay. Anything else you'd like to ask?
Do you have more questions?
And I can see a few familiar faces, probably from the Auschwitz Museum. I remember you. So you must have worked together at one time, probably.
I think so.
I had lighter hair and no glasses.
Yeah.
So,
I had lighter hair too.
thank you very much. Well, so let me thank you again. It was a real pleasure.
You enjoy the sun here.
Well, the weather is just. Tadek told me that that's not usual for this time of the year, so I'm really lucky. And I live in a hotel in Tel Aviv.